That's right. It's a special presentation of Pop Culture Minefield today as we invite back again, uh, the gentleman here, like I tell you to my left, is probably one of the single most important people in Hollywood right now to every military veteran. And we appreciate all the deep work that he has done in trying to keep Hollywood from showing its ass too often when making military films. And I got to tell you, Captain Dale Dye, it's so wonderful to see you again, sir. We love you here. You are talked about quite often. And one of the things I just told recently that I is like how I met you guys was back in '06. And that's when I started working for you. I did my first drawing for you in '06. I redid your logo.
All right.
And, I had seen a movie, a guy who used to be a friend of mine, but I ended our friendship because he suggested the movie American Soldier by the director. I forget his name. He did The Fury and he directed The Entity, and he also directed Michael Caine's first spy movie back in '67, '68. And this guy suggested this film to me. Oh, it's about a combat medic in Iraq, and you're gonna really like it. And I watched it. It was fucking awful. Combat medic in a volunteer army complaining all the time. I'm like, that doesn't happen. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
To be there. You know, this guy doesn't know his shit from the hole in the ground. And so I immediately wanted to start pushing for a proactive stance to make Hollywood stop making bad movies about soldiers. And the first thing I thought about was calling you guys at Warriors Inc. And I think it was a 4-hour conversation with your wife. and
you couldn't get me to sit still for that long, but go ahead.
Yeah. But we had that 4-hour conversation that one afternoon, and I sat there and I wanted to quit my job right then and there and just work on nothing but military stuff. And since '06, because of you guys, I dedicated my life to doing nothing but military stuff, to dedicate my life to those who gave more than me. Because I got to tell you, man, Hollywood, if they're left to their own devices, will screw it up. And you have helped so much in stopping that or pushing it back, the tide. And I don't know if you see it that way. I do.
Well, yeah, I do. I mean, I guess if I was to have an epitaph on my tombstone, it would probably be something like, "He changed the way Hollywood makes war movies." And I appreciate that. And I do it for the same sort of reason that you decided to dedicate your work and life to this sort of thing. I think it's unfair and it's a bad break and a bad rap to let Hollywood just go off on some sort of tangent and misrepresent so many millions of us who've worn the uniform, worn the cloth, and made the sacrifices. And so I'm in the business to, if you'll forgive me, to be sort of the MP there and say, no, halt.
Say it again. Don't be afraid to say it. It takes pride, integrity, and guts to do our job.
Well, there it is. I mean, look,
by the way,
one of the things the hardest things has been my instinct was always to say, no, you people are screwed up like Hogan's goat. Let me reach out, grab you by the stacking swivel and unscrew you. That's my instinct. But it doesn't work that way in Hollywood, where you have fragile egos all the time. And so the way to fix it, in my view, and that's proved to be successful, is don't tell them no, tell them no but. And be talented enough and visionary enough to give them another answer, which is closer to the truth or closer to what really deserves the image that deserves in the film, and then offer them that. And 9 times out of 10, they'll take it. Yeah, because it's the fact of the matter is our real lives and our real experiences are much more interesting, important, entertaining than anything the writers are going to dream up.
Oh, I absolutely. And by the way, Anima had a question with you in regard to working in film. And Anima, do you want to ask that question?
Oh, about how
Your third
problematic
question.
directors can be. Is that the one you mean? Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
go on
wondering
with it.
if you end up working with a director who just ignores your advice. How do you work with that?
I didn't hear the question, Anima.
If you have to work with a director who ends up just ignoring all your advice, how do you work with that?
Well, if it's really if it's absolutely a stone wall, I don't work with it. I walk away because he's simply not going to listen to anything. But look, it's to some extent you've got to schmooze. To some extent, you've got to be able to be that guy that they trust as having some degree of creativity, some guy who understands dramatic arts and dramatic storytelling, visual storytelling. Proving that you're that guy is the difficult part of going, because there was a period of Hollywood hubris, is what I call it. And when I first started in this business, the general attitude in Hollywood was that anybody who wore the uniform is a brain dead loser, or he wouldn't have worn the uniform.
Wow.
And he couldn't conceivably have a creative bone in his body. So why should we listen to him beyond the fact of, make the uniform fit right and show him which rifle to hold? I knew that was too shallow. And so I began to develop the business of showing and demonstrating that I knew more about that and should be more deeply involved in training the actors and that sort of thing. But the direct answer to your question is, if a guy is going to be a complete stonewall and a complete jerk, I walk away. There's no helping him.
Well, I know that you ran into it a few times, like even on Band of Brothers, and I loved your response to it there, which is Spielberg says this isn't real military, this is movie making. And how did you always feel about responses like that?
Well, it's true. It's movie making, but I think if we depart too much, too far from real life or what the real images are, we do a tremendous disservice to the soldiers involved, or the Marines, or the sailors, or the airmen. And so what I do is I say, look, I'm sure that you don't mean to cast these aspersions. I'm sure that you know that that's not the truth. And there's a way to sort of make it appear that if they disagree with that, they're either prejudiced or stupid, so you don't go there.
Gotcha. Yeah, you got to be a diplomat, is what you're saying. I get it.
Yeah.
You got to find the nicest way, because I know in Hollywood you deal with a lot of fragile egos, and so you've got to find that middle ground. And I dig that a lot. I've found that true to be with a lot of the clients I've had over the last 35 years as an artist, that some of them can't handle when I tell them your idea sucks. And let me do what I do.
The truth of the matter is, I do it two ways. If I'm dealing with producers, money men, directors, writers, that's where you got to be diplomatic, because those guys consider themselves artistes. And those are the guys who think you couldn't possibly know the drama that they go through and that sort of thing.
Right.
And I get that, and I work that way. But when it comes to the actors, it's a whole different ballgame.
You can get rough with them,
absolutely, right? And the idea is reduce them to common denominator.
Well, you want them to follow orders is really the way you saw it. It's not the way I watched you, the way you did your work. And of course, we got some wonderful behind the scenes with some of the films that you got to work on, how you trained them. And it seemed to me that a lot of the actors reacted to you like you were their senior NCO or your senior their XO.
Well,
And
what that means, of course, is that you're being a good leader,
yeah,
and they understand that, and they respond to that. And when they respond to that, you're able to build and shape a unit. And when you build and shape a unit, you can teach, you can train, and they will replicate. And that's really the basic philosophy of what I do.
oh man, absolutely.
It
Now
shows in
I
everything you do too, Captain. It really does.
absolutely does.
Thank you.
And
I
we all
need to
appreciate it.
address our
We do.
absolutely every single veteran appreciates that in film. I need to address our audience because we do have an audience that not just watch but interacts with us. First person in house is our dear friend Snortopupus Cuber. He's a very rude polar bear. Hello, Snortopupus.
It's not rude.
Oh, he's a
For
bad
polar
bear
bears, he's a bad bear. Don't even pretend he's not. Then our dear friend, oh wait, Apollonie's Minion is here today. I haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. Good to see you. 11 Alpha is a U.S. Army veteran, retired, and he's been around for a long time, and he absolutely keeps me on my shit when it comes to talking about military facts. So I like that about him. And I've always said that's one of the things that I think you've always liked about me is you don't have to correct me very much when I'm doing military art because I know just enough to keep me from getting killed.
Yeah, you take orders pretty well.
I do. I also tell people, I said only 3 people on this planet can make my ass clench. One was my XO in the Army. The second is my godfather and my priest, Father Weems. The minute he says my name, my ass clenches. And anytime that Captain Dale Dye doesn't call me by my name but says son, I know I've done something wrong.
Rolling a tinge, yeah. I know that speech.
By the way, here's somebody that you know, Skipper, is Glenn Fleming. He's the one who did the maps for you on that last book.
Oh yeah. Hi,
He's
Glenn.
he's a limey prick friend of mine that I introduced to you to. So he is also a co-worker of mine.
There you go.
And let's see who else dropped in here. I think
Penny.
Penny is here. Good morning, Penny. Penny is a wonderful lady. She watches our show religiously and just a huge supporter, and she loves movies. And she also said to say hello to you.
Oh, good.
So, all right. So let's move ahead, guys. We are going to start moving into asking questions about this film in particular. Anybody got any questions before we head into that area?
Usually the movies you work on are about the US military, and this time you're Russian. How different was that?
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing the question.
She was asking, what was it like working instead of U.S. military, which you normally do?
Yeah.
What was it like doing a film about Russian military?
It's a terrific question, and thanks for asking it because it touches on what so much of what we really do. I mean, look, my company, Warriors Global now, formerly Warriors Incorporated, has done everything, literally done everything from the Peloponnesian Wars to Star Wars. And so much of that is based on research. I mean, I've got to get in there and know what I'm talking about. And if I don't know from firsthand experience, then I've got to research it. And I've got to talk to people who know. And I do that. And in this case, I talked to several Russian, they were infantrymen actually, but who had served in Afghanistan. And I talked to a couple of Afghans who were in the resistance. So you do that sort of thing to prep yourself. Sometimes you can bring that person along with you, not often, because they're not movie makers, they're veterans. And so you get what you can from their experience and you use that in your own methods. Does that help? Am I answering your question?
Yeah, you're blending is what you're doing. You're blending your military knowledge mixed with what they've told you, and you're able to extract from that how to do things.
Yeah.
I get that absolutely, Skipper. By the way, this is the logo I created for Warriors Global, showing, of course, the Grecian helmet on one side and a modern / futuristic military helmet on the right. And that was fun to design that
I bet,
for
yeah.
Warriors Global.
That's badass.
And when it comes
Thank you.
to the prep work and the general feel of the movie, I gotta say you guys knocked it out of the park on this one, because I'm an Afghan vet and we used to hear stories from the locals about the Soviet occupation, and yeah, they were not nice people.
No, no, they certainly weren't. And it was when I was talking to the writers and director, I said, these people were really pretty cruel, pretty brutal. And I said, "Are you sure you want to go there? Because it's gonna take some doing, and you're gonna have to hold your breath for a bit to understand that." But they were really once I began to tell them some of the stories that I had heard, they said, "Yeah, I think the best approach here, and piss on the Russians if they get upset about it. The best approach here is to try to tell the truth, and that's what we did."
You even addressed something, by the way, that not a lot of people know, is there were deserters who ended up going with the Taliban. Well, the Mujahideen, which basically became the Taliban later, which is why this movie I think this movie aged well, whereas James Bond's movie Living Daylights didn't age too well with the way they showed the Mujahideen.
Look, the truth of the matter is, if you look into Soviet military history, and it's happening in Ukraine, there are people wearing the Russian cloth, the Russian uniform, that simply get tired of putting up with that crap, simply get tired of being used as a tool, and no one really caring about their health and welfare and that sort of thing. And they walk over to the other side. That's happened consistently throughout Russian military history.
And it's one of the militaries that even when I was in, because we were ramping up when I was in to go to the Middle East, but there was still this thing about, because I went in 1990, and that was the year the Soviet Union collapsed. And it was 89, and we were just kind of getting into it. And it was they're not our enemy anymore. And it's that's always been our enemy since the Cold War started, which technically I tell people, really, they were our enemy at the onset of World War II, because they were working with the Germans, and they had a treaty with them. And
still out there, beware.
Yep, still out there, beware.
I'll never trust them. I was in from 83 to 86. Yeah. And when I was in basic, you know how they kind of condition you with the news in the mornings during basic. Right. It was all about the Korean airliner, and that got shot down that year in the fall of 83. And I'll never trust those guys as far as I could throw them. That's for sure. Yep.
When I was with a band, Skipper, I don't think I've ever told you this. I was with a punk band called the Smelly Pubes when I was younger. And I ended up writing a song because I threatened to kill the guitarist. We fired him. He's Russian. His name was Sergei Dubovik, and I couldn't stand the guy. And I don't care. He can hate me all he wants to if he's ever dares watch one of my shows. And I ended up trying to kill him. I threw a drumstick at his head, like one of the big drumsticks. I threw it right at his head, just missed. He had the wherewithal to set the guitar down before running from me. And as he's running down the street, I remember yelling at him, "Fuck you and fuck Russia."
Well, you just lay it out there.
Yeah, and one of my favorite activities has always been
that's the kind of diplomacy that I cannot display on movie sets. But okay,
of course not. But in the military, you didn't mind it. Glenn Fleming says the Cossacks all defected to the German side during World War II because they were being knocked out of their own Soviet troops. I know, and then it came back to bite them in the ass when the war ended.
Yep.
Like you chose the wrong side, and they always act like they were betrayed by Britain for doing what they did, and it's like, no, Britain had signed a treaty. They had to obey the treaty. So yeah, Glenn, thanks for that little history moment. History moments brought to you by Glenn Fleming.
And we have 11 Alpha again with a history lesson.
They are connected. You can't conflate them, but you can connect them, because what happened was, correct me if I'm wrong here, Skipper, is I remember reading that the Mujahideen had a side that was extreme, and they broke off and became what we know now as the Taliban.
They became Al Qaeda later on.
The Taliban really came from Pakistan.
Yep.
And sort of imported across the Afghan border and that sort of thing.
The less extreme side of the Mujahideen then went on to become the Northern Alliance, who was fighting the Taliban in the 90s.
The Mujahideen, resisting Soviet occupation in the 1980s, we considered those people freedom fighters, and we were their best pals and their best friends to the extent that we could diplomatically help them out. So it's important not to confuse the Mujahideen with the Taliban.
With the Taliban and Al Qaeda. So in the end, though, you can pull that down, Martin. Anytime, Martin. You can pull that down. He's our producer, Martin.
More or less.
I'm sorry, boss. I had to move away from keyboard.
You kill me. So most of my former Mujahideen colleagues either fled Afghanistan or were killed fighting against the Taliban. And yeah, I've read that too. I am curious, what, because before we get into this film, what brought the Russians into Afghanistan? Why were they there?
Okay, so in the middle of the 70s.
Oh, I was asking Captain Dale Dye, but thank you.
No, I want somebody who knows, because I don't.
Go ahead, Pope. Go ahead, Pope.
From what I know, going into the mid 1970s, you had a communist party that was kind of on the rise in Afghanistan, because Afghanistan was actually a fairly developing country in the 60s.
They had universities, campuses, all sorts of shit. Yeah, I know.
And then the communists took power briefly, and then were overthrown in a coup in the late 70s, which the Soviets then reacted to by invading to prop up their little puppet government in 79. And then they were there from 79 to 89.
Worked for me.
Was that good?
Yeah, I think it's an excellent explanation. Yes.
There you go, man. Gambit has joined us, and of course, another Limey prick friend of mine, Andy Morrow, is in the chat. I have a lot of Limey prick friends, by the way, Skipper. So let's get into this movie, guys. Let's pull up the. We do a slideshow, Skipper, on Military Mondays. When we talk about the films, we kind of go through moment by moment. How did you get pulled into this film? Who did you talk to? And also, this was based on a play.
Yeah,
a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, it was based on a play that was off Broadway and drew some attention from Hollywood producers. The way I got involved was that we were on the ass end of the hoopla over Platoon, and I'd done a couple of things, and I guess when the producers reached out for how are we going to make this. None of us know anything about the military. None of us know anything about the Soviets. None of us know anything about tanks. How are we going to do this? And they called me, and they said, "Look, you may not be able to help us here." And I said, "Just stop. Of course I can help you. What do you got going?" And they told me what they had, and they let me read a script. I had not seen the stage play, but the script was really terrific. I had looked up the fact that a young director and a cinematographer that I really liked, Doug Milsom, we're going to do this thing. And I said, well, look, so I started research. I started contacting people that had been in Afghanistan. I met several Russians who'd fought there. And by going to Colorado for a while, I met some former Mujahideen who had a lot of things to tell me. So by the time I got back and met Kevin Reynolds, a terrific director and great writer, I said, I think I can do this. I think I can help you. And so that's really how it all came about. Oh, they told me at that point that they were going to Israel to shoot this thing. And I said, sure, why not?
A great place to shoot that's very friendly to American production companies. How did the Israelis feel about the subject matter?
Look, at this point, I don't think the Israelis had any dog in the hunt. They said, fine, if you want to do this, this is a movie, come on, let's go. And then we started to ask them for things. Well, look, we need location. We need a place for Captain Dye to train these guys. And we need a couple of tanks, and we need a helicopter and that sort of thing. And I think at that point, they said, well, wait a minute. We thought you were just coming over here to take advantage of a tax break. And so when we started to ask them for things, they took a very Israeli bent. They said, yes, but what are you going to give me? And it came down to money in many cases, and we didn't have a lot. So the deal was we needed, the script called originally for T-72 tanks, which have an automatic loader and a smaller crew and so on and so forth. Those were not available. We talked about trying to get T-62s, 62s. There were some of those available, but the Israelis were still using them. The IDF was still using them. And so I finally decided that, look, the best we can do here, if we want Soviet material, is T-55s. So everybody said, well, what do they look like? And I showed them pictures and all that sort of thing. And they didn't know one tank from another tank. I mean, so that was fine. So I said, all right, we'll just modify the script that these are 55s, not 62s or 72s. And off I went to Israel, where I was to meet two retired Israeli officers who were great guys, but hard bargainers. And they ran a sort of an Israeli IDF boneyard for captured equipment. When the Israelis would capture Egyptian or Syrian equipment, it would get turned over to these guys, and they would hire mechanics to try to, they would either cannibalize it or they would restore it and get it back into action. And so the thing I'll never forget is getting off a plane in Tel Aviv, and they picked me up and they took me to King David Hotel, where there's a plush bar, and these two Israeli older officers were waiting for me. And I think those guys saw me coming because they hadn't really decided how much money they wanted for these two tanks that they were going to give us. And we started, drinking beer and sort of negotiating. And as it turned out, we gave about $250,000 for the two tanks, plus the way to transport them up to the Dead Sea area sets that we needed. And I went to bed that night and I said, my God, what have I just turned into an international arms dealer?
You're a dog of war.
That's it. But they were very good. They sent some mechanics with us who were also retired IDF guys, tankers, that could keep the two T-55s running. Although they're Soviet material, they're just made. You can't screw it up.
It keeps going.
They're not comfortable, but they will keep going. And these two T-55s we had did that. We named them, when I went into training with the actors, we named the tanks Boris and Natasha,
That's awesome.
And it's so funny. We just talked about them a few days ago,
Yeah.
Boris and Natasha. That is
Well,
so funny.
that's kind of
man.
how the initial approach went.
For all you unlearned heathens out there, that's from the Rocky and Bullwinkle show. That reference. So I paused for a second here because the opening scene here is brutal as fuck.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that this is based off of some of the things you guys heard that was being used. And I consider, because they like to throw the word war of attrition on us over Vietnam, which is not really an honest descriptor. But I feel sometimes when I hear stories about what happened in Afghanistan with Russia, that really was a war of attrition.
Yeah,
where they were trying to
look,
put him back in the Stone Age.
Kevin Reynolds, and I can't say enough about him. He's a brilliant director.
Waterworld, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Yeah.
My favorite version of Count of Monte Cristo. And that didn't you work with the actor in that one too? What's his name? Jim Caviezel.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, great guy.
Kevin and I are still in contact, and I love the guy, but he wanted to set up in those opening sequences. He wanted to set up a David versus Goliath situation. So it had to be tough, and it had to be brutal, and it had to be the Mudge responding with old flintlocks and that sort of thing. So he set it up being David and Goliath, and I think those opening sequences, especially the tank attacks, I think were terrific. You know, one of the things, I guess I'm gonna wander off the topic here, but one of the things that has always pissed me off about tanks, and in some cases artillery pieces, 105, 155 howitzers, is that when you see them in movies, they don't recoil. You know, you see a
the water,
some flame out the muzzle. But if you've ever seen a tank fire its main gun, especially a tank that's been in the field for a while, they're filthy and dirty. And when that thing fires, the whole tank rocks, and there's this cloud of dust that comes up.
Right.
And when the special effects guys, who were Israelis, by the way, first showed me the effect, I said, no, stop. We're not doing this, because it was typical Hollywood, you know, a powder charge in the muzzle of the tank, the 120 millimeter, and then, a flame bag. The tank never moved. The weapon never moved. And I said, we're not doing that. We're going to get this right. So we embarked on how to make the recoil system on this tank work. And I sat down with the special effects guys, and we began to think about how does it work? And it's all about the transfer of energy. And so what we had to figure out how to do is load something into the tube that approximated the weight of a round, an HE round or a shot round. And so when we detonate it, what happens is there's enough gas generated that the recoil system works. So we worked and we worked and we worked. And while people were shooting other stuff, I was in those tanks with the special effects guys trying to figure this out. And what we finally did is we took an armor-piercing, fin-stabilized, discarding sabot round shot, and we weighed it, and we figured out how much that weighed. We took a live one, how much did that weigh? And then we took one that had been fired, so how much does a shell casing weigh? And we did the math. And what we decided was we would fill that round, that blank round that we're going to use in the tube. We'll fill that with the similar weight of water, and then seal it with wax, and then put a normal detonator in the back. And we screwed around with it, I don't know, for days. And we finally fired one that worked. And you saw the gun recoil back, and I said, okay, we got it.
That's
Now
incredible.
make about 8 of these, and quickly we made these rounds. So when you see the tank fire, you'll notice not only does the dust fly, but the weapon recoils, and I'm very proud of that.
I'm curious. Have other films learned from that and used it? What you guys created there?
I've had other people call me about it. But if you look at Fury, for instance, or several other tank movies, I can't think of them all right now. They didn't use it. They didn't figure that out when they should have.
They should have called you.
Right.
Also, maybe they wouldn't have had tracers that looked like Star Wars blasters.
Yeah,
in that
yeah.
movie.
Oh my God.
All those colors. I'm like, tracers are one color.
Yeah. And Soviet tracers are different than U.S. tracers.
Yep.
But what got me, you remember the sequence where suddenly the tank is equipped with a flamethrower and just creates this big circle of flame around it. I never did figure that out, and I kept saying to Kevin, they don't have those. It's either a flame-equipped tank or it's a gun tank. And that was one of those cases that we just couldn't get around it because he loved the imagery of that flame going in a circle where the turret traverses and there's a flame weapon firing inside the turret and around it goes. And I couldn't beat him on that one because they just wanted that sequence.
Although in his defense, if there was a country that was just going to strap a flamethrower to the outside of a tank, it would be the Russians.
Yeah,
It would be the Russians.
And I'm not sure. He just was not going to hear that. And so I said, okay, there it is. In my mind, I'll justify it somehow. I'll go ahead and shoot it. And they did.
That's fascinating, man. By the way, another friend of ours is here right now. It is in the chat is Tom Baker, who is not the guy from Doctor Who, but a friend of ours from Belgium, and he's still there, and he watches the show religiously, and we love the guy. Big film aficionado. I paused this movie, Skipper, for a reason.
Yeah.
That this scene, what was that like shooting this scene? Because this must have been intense, even shooting this scene, because of the subject matter of running this guy over with the treads of a tank.
Yeah, that was a stunt, and it was really, really hard to do. Everything had to be low level. You wanted to be down with him to see the track.
Yeah, coming over him,
staging on it. And what we did, we buried the guy, and we only needed a short sequence that where the track rolls forward. You know what's going to happen from then on, and everything else is a cut afterwards. So we buried this guy who was an Israeli stuntman, actually, and we had an Israeli really experienced tank driver that was up in the driver's position of this 55, and we buried him, and then we shot so that as the tank comes forward, it appears to be going to roll over him, and the look on his face, I think, sold it all.
Yeah, the way he's looking at Jason Patrick, and I bring up that name. How did you feel working with some of the cast here? Did they train well? I suspect you had something to do with why George Zunza was so thin.
I had something to do with what?
I suspect that you had something to do with why George Zunza was so thin in this movie, because this is the best shape I've ever seen him.
George was a piece of work. I had these guys for about 10 days in the field,
right,
with the two tanks, and I came up with ways to make sure that they were thin, lean, muscled up, that sort of thing, and looked as though they had been living a hard life in the field. And Zunza, when I got him, was not that.
He was portly.
a little more like Fat Albert, than. And so what I devised and we trained out near the in the flats out near the Dead Sea. And we had this hill that went up next to our training area, and it was designed for tanks to drive up and that sort of thing. So I pulled the towing cable off of the tanks, and I put the crew together, holding onto that towing cable, and made them run up that hill. And I think that carved some weight off George.
I don't doubt it, because I said that to Anima. I said, that guy's always been fat. I mean, his first big movie was The Deer Hunter, and he was portly in that. But I said, look at him there. I didn't even recognize him at first, going, oh my God, because I'm a big George Zunza fan. Okay, I love that guy. I've just been a fan of his since the early '80s, and I just love this guy. And I'm like, there's only one reason this guy is thin. His name is Captain Dale Dye.
I had something to do with that, I'll admit.
All right, good. Next one is getting to work with Jason Patric, who is, of course, kind of from Hollywood royalty. People don't know that he's the son of Linda and Jason Miller. Everybody knows Jason Miller from The Exorcist. He's been in other films, but that's the one they mostly know him for. What was it like working with him? Did you enjoy it? Was he a good student?
I did. Jason was a real avid student. He wanted to know everything. He's one of those guys that wanted to know exactly what shape the pin was in a Soviet RGD-5 grenade. He was detail oriented and a really good guy, frankly. So he took to training like a duck to water. And to this day, I still hear from him. He kind of dropped out of showbiz for a while to raise his kids. But I hear from him. He calls every once in a while. He and Don Harvey will get together somewhere in LA and get a couple of beers in them, and then they'll call the skipper and we'll talk about the beast.
We got to work up the nerve to call him. And then, of course, what involvement did you have with the training for Bauer? Because a lot of people don't realize that one of the main characters in this film is not Afghan, it's Stephen Bauer.
Andre Braugher,
he did a great job.
He did a great job. You're right. There were several. There was one former Mujahideen that was working with him. I worked with him, especially on weapons and tactics and that sort of thing. He was a sponge. He soaked it all up, but he was regularly absorbed. He had to learn a bunch of a bunch of lines in Pashto, and he was constantly having to get those lines and get the pronunciation correctly. We had a dialogue coach on the set, and
well, not to mention you had actors that were probably from the region that could probably help correct him too.
And he was great. I enjoyed working with him. Like everything else. I mean, one of the biggest problems when you're shooting in an area like that for the actors, and we found this out later in Alexander when we were shooting in Morocco, they wear sandals, but the actors' feet aren't calloused and tough and all that sort of thing like a resident is, like a native is. And so all the time, these guys were their feet were torn up because running, around the rocks in those sandals and things. And we thought about trying to put socks on them for a while, and then no, that didn't look right. So we had to kind of put up with it, and we would put tough skin and cloth bandages you couldn't see on the bottom of their feet, and it's about the only way they survived it.
Yeah, I saw that scene where they were running after the tank and they're running up the rocks, and I'm like, how are they wearing sandals doing that?
Yeah. And the females, that
was what I was going to get into next. Is
wow,
they are the fly in the rub in this movie.
They were terrific.
Oh my God!
Very few only the lead actress spoke English. The rest of them all spoke Hebrew. And so we would use her to translate directions that we were trying to do. But they were just
Was the ululations done live? Did they actually do that on the set?
which
The ululations, when they would make the sounds with their tongues.
a couple of them could do it, but most of them couldn't.
So you had to dub some of it.
We recorded it, and then as they would come, fortunately, it usually had a veil across their face, and so we would just play that back. But they were enormously tough. I think in some ways tougher than some of the male extras that we had. You know, the guys that were in the two Mujahideen bands. Those gals were just, they would do anything and were just fine, you know, and they were in these long dresses and that sort of thing. Is hotter than hell, but off they went. And do not be anywhere where they're throwing rocks. They're very good at that.
Yeah, because they were pretty accurate. Okay. Because I wanted to get into that just a little bit, is the fact that this is a people who have almost literally gone back to the Stone Age. And you don't see that more represented in this film than the women who attack a tank with rocks.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, look, we're under a cultural question here, and I'm not sure how to answer it. I know that when you're back in the hinterlands in places like Afghanistan, females have a certain place in life, and religion drives a lot of that sort of thing. And I think there's a belief, deep-seated sometimes. And when you don't have television and you don't have the internet and you don't know any better, there's a belief that God will be with you and you can overcome enormous difficulties. That's, you know, I'm not sure how much I can speak in expertise on that, but that's the sort of spirit that we saw, you know, attacking a tank with rocks. That seemed like they had potential to work in their minds.
And you will see them do it. We every now and again, when we made them mad, they'd throw rocks at the vehicles we were in.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, yeah, no, that's legit.
It's so primal. It's so primal.
David and Goliath, baby.
Yep. Yeah.
Although, you know, the effect it had on us was we're just sitting there like, really? Okay.
And, you know, what did you feel in the end? Because I know when this film got released, there was zero mark. Oh, there's another great actor right there.
Yeah, he's good.
Oh, my God, he's a good actor.
We just did Stargate the other day, and he's a...
I know, he's in Stargate. It's Eric Avari.
Yeah.
I love this guy.
And he's terrific, yeah. I worked with him several times after this film. So he's been around. He's played Middle Eastern everybody.
Yep.
And he's a great guy.
He even played a Greek in the Daredevil movie.
Yeah.
That came out back in the early 2000s. And he played Elektra's father. And I just love this guy as an actor. Really, he was one of the best parts of that movie, and it was a terrible movie.
Good. Yeah.
But was he part of the group that you had to train as well?
He was. He was one of the only ones I took to the field that wasn't a member of the tank crew.
Because he's a Turk, right?
You know,
he's a Turk.
He was better than than Harvey or Baldwin and those guys. He was all for it. He was ready.
Was he? His character's a Turk, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, an interpreter.
Okay. Yeah. And what did? Because I don't think you worked on the film. The one where the guy goes back for his interpreter. The Covenant.
Yeah, The Covenant.
I'm curious, just off topic, what was your reaction to that film?
Which film?
The Covenant.
Where
the Afghan soldier.
You're going someplace I can't go. I don't know. I don't remember it.
It was another Afghan vet who went back for his interpreter when they got cut off, and they pulled out. Anyway, off topic. We'll get back to topic here. Here we go. Glenn Fleming says rocks were all they had. If those gals had RPGs, they would have used them.
Yeah,
Well,
no doubt.
well, they
They
use
do get
grenades to
grenades,
create
Yeah, we had to. That's an RPG 7V, and we had to. We ended up having to actually fire one because you needed to see the rocket go and so on and so forth. And we were going to have a stunt double for Jason fire it, and then he wanted to fire it. So I said, "Look, here's a military truism to remember: recoilless weapons aren't. There's a buck to that thing when you release the rocket. There is recoil to that recoilless weapon. So I said, don't get your eye up too close to that eyepiece. There's a rubber expansion on the subjective end, and there's a forehead rest. That's about as close as you want to get to that RPG-7 sight when you fire. And of course, he didn't listen.
Oh no!
And when he fired that thing, it recoiled on him, gave him a big ass black eye.
Oh,
Oh man!
wow.
Yeah.
Well, he learned. He
A lot
learned.
of time and makeup covering that.
That's
Damn.
funny. Speaking of that, you also have to worry about your Martin. You want to play the video?
yes.
Oh Jesus! That's a tag card right there.
We had that beaten into us when we were trained on
Oh man.
recoilless rifles and RPGs, man. And good God,
That's a 147 Dragon, but
Dragon.
But that was my SAG card. Where I became a member.
A lot of people don't know you were also the military advisor on
Yeah.
that film.
Yeah.
And great. Clear the back blast area for those of you that don't speak Marine.
Yeah. That's
Right.
exactly what it is. And you had to do that. But, those kind of weapons, especially RPGs, they've used them so much in Hollywood for so long that you'd think, if you've ever seen one actually fired, you'd think they'd be able to get that right. They finally, after years and years and years, got the M77 law right. But it was before then. It was just poof poof, and then an explosion on the other end. So we've worked on that for years and years and years to get rocket recoilless weapons correct. And we still screw it up, but in general, that's what we're after.
Oh, I love my favorite my favorite example of it is in The Enforcer with Clint Eastwood when the female detective goes with him to the
He
range,
grabs her and pulls
and he
her from
grabs her
behind
and pulls her out of the way because she's standing right behind the law rocket when they're displaying it. But the worst one is in that second Rambo movie where he fires it from the cockpit. Nobody gets singed behind him. It's ridiculous.
No.
Man. I'm like, oh my God, come on, guys.
Yeah. And had I been on that, I would have said no.
Yeah, I could tell you weren't on it. Yeah.
Well, what you would have said was no, but.
No, but.
Yeah, I'd have come up with something.
Let's do it this way.
By the way, 11 Alpha, you are correct. Far too often. Now, I've seen them done correctly a few times, Alpha. But for the most part, when they show RPGs, they go way too slow when they actually zip fast.
Those things
And they're far more accurate than Hollywood shows you.
It's the director wanting to depict the flight of the round. You never see the flight around. Those bastards just zoom, they're gone, And and if you see anything at all, sometimes there'll be a smoke trail. But the rocket is well past that by that time.
You remember when we worked on an idea for a film? There was some money that we were going to move forward with called City of Fire, which you wrote the final screenplay, first draft, based off of what I did with the comic script.
Yeah.
And what you did is you actually platooned it, where you brought a bunch of elements in there, which was great. And but there was one scene in there that I sexed up from what really happened, and I always was curious what you thought of that when the rear striker was not one of the robotic arm 50s; it was a manual 50 on the last striker. And in true story is that a Haji jumped in the air and landed right in his sights. He just jumped from behind a wall into his sights in an alleyway and had an RPG and was about to fire it. And he just squeezed one round and blew the guy apart.
Yeah.
And, but I had to sex it up because I wanted to show what it was like when an RPG went. And I wrote in that this RPG sizzled right past him, skimming the top of the striker right as he fired that 50. And it was the one time I ever sexed up a combat scene in my own writing, because I tend to like to be realistic, but I'm like, that's the drama, is that he was about to get hit with this thing. And because he squeezed that round, it ended it. But I wanted to show the realism of what an RPG looked like to people.
Yeah.
And you in this one, by the way, I don't know whose idea that was, throwing a fucking RPG round. That every single military guy, it's sort of like watching a guy get kicked in the nuts. You see that guy throw the RPG to Jason Patrick, and my legs went together going, oh, like,
Yeah,
oh my
right?
God. Like, what are you doing?
That's a nut shrinker, as we call it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of those. We do not throw high explosive. That is bad juju.
Oh my God. Like, and I know Anima heard me when I said it, because I haven't seen this movie since the 80s.
Now be careful there. I
In what
did.
way,
I
sir?
don't know if you remember from Saving Private Ryan.
Mm.
I had the sit back fuses on the 60 millimeter mortar rounds that they
Right.
use, look like
Yeah.
hand grenade. I had trouble selling that to anybody, and finally, as it turns out, there was 2 medals of honor given, one in the ETO and one in the Pacific, for guys who did just that. And I had to break those out and show people to them, say, it happens, it can happen.
I mean, it certainly does, but you don't want to be anywhere near the
Throwing
receiving
an
end of
RPG
that.
round. It depends. It was did they pull the safe? It's a point detonating fuse. So if they didn't pull the
Yeah.
safe, you're probably good.
I've always, and this, I was actually wanting to ask you this, like, obviously you deal with, foreign equipment a lot, especially Russian, that may have been of dubious quality when it was made. How do you deal with that of, yeah, this thing's probably safe, but it's Russian, so how safe is it?
Yes, yeah, I get it, and I've had to do that a lot, especially with Soviet stuff. I have a collection of it that is just absolute garbage. And it.
Oh, you mean like the AK-47?
Yeah, look, it's built to take punishment.
But it doesn't always work like people say. It's like,
Yeah,
it's
and
not that reliable.
The Soviets know how to make it soldier proof, but in doing so, they can make it very dangerous. They can make stuff that just is going to be trouble. They don't. I guess it's how the engineers think, and the last thing they think about is the person who's using the equipment.
Pretty much. I mean, they just don't care about the safety or well-being of their troopers, so they'll just give them whatever.
Yep.
If they can make it cheap and make it by the megaton, they will.
Yep.
I'm sorry. One of the people in the chat, Tom Baker, brought up Invasion USA and its use of RPGs, and so I'm trying to respond to it right now. It's funny.
Okay.
And Gambit said something about, again, this goes to I absolutely say you played a huge part in this, is with Saving Private Ryan, took realism to a whole new level. Thank you, Gambit, for that comment. I tell people all the time that for a majority of the combat scenes, Spielberg would sit back and plan his first version of the most realistic military video game ever made. Medal of Honor, while you would sit there and you would make sure those scenes were done correctly using your skill as a director to run those scenes.
Yeah,
And
video games. Look, I got into video games. I didn't volunteer for that. I was voluntold by Spielberg that he wanted me to go down. He had an outfit making video games called DreamWorks Interactive at the time, and he wanted his engineers, the guys, the designers of these things. He wanted them to do better. I mean, this really happened when we were on Curacao Beach doing the beach sequences of Saving Private Ryan. And Spielberg wanted to see me. So I got off the beach and went up to where he was sitting. And he was playing, he had his laptop computer, and he was playing one of these video games. And he said, "Look at this." So I looked over his shoulder and watched this happen. It was a first-person shooter, they call it. And he said, this is terrible. This is nothing like the reality. And I said, "Yeah, but it's a video game. Who gives a shit?" And he said, "No, I do. So when we finished Saving Private Ryan, I had a pretty close relationship with Spielberg at that point. And he said, "Look, I want you to go down to DreamWorks Interactive, and I want you to talk to the guys who make these videos and video games, and then I want you to see if we can improve this." And that was when I started on Medal of Honor. And I worked with some really great guys on the first iteration, and then there was Rising Sun. But what I did is I took these engineers who frankly are geeks, and they'd be the first to tell you they're geeks and nerds. That's what they do. And I would take them out into the high desert above LA and let them fire the real weapons. I'd let them fire a Thompson and an M1 and a carbine and the various pistols. And I said, "Now remember how that feels and how it looks when it recoils. And we're going to include that. We're going to incorporate that in the games." And then I taught them basic infantry tactics and that sort of thing. And I think we really, really improved the product. There's still some things at that point we couldn't do. I wanted to know why we were always fighting in broad daylight. I said, "Hell, half the stuff we do is at night. And what about weather? I mean, if it's raining like hell and you're up to your knees in mud, wouldn't that affect your gameplay?" But we didn't quite have the technology to do that at that point. But that's the kind of thing I was doing as a consultant on Medal of Honor and then Medal of Honor Rising Sun.
Well, Skipper, I got to
And the
tell
last
you,
one,
you
I think-
ruined
oh, I'm sorry.
me
Go ahead, Joe.
with Medal of Honor. I will not play a first-person shooter to this day because that game was such an assault on the senses. You did a good job showing those guys what to do because I don't play them ever since that game. I don't.
Dude,
As I recall, on the last Medal of Honor that I played was the Pearl Harbor one.
Yeah.
Is that Rising Sun?
It's the one in the Pacific. I don't know how many versions there were.
Because I remember you working on that
yes.
one, and I remember hearing your voice in the game going,
Yes,
"Oh,
that is.
they'll die."
Anytime you hear a radio transmission, it's generally me.
I tell people that you and Arlie Ermy are two guys that they would go to for radio stuff, and in fact, that's your voice in Indiana Jones in the Crystal Skull. That's at the atomic blast range, giving the announcement. I recorded
that while I was in London doing another show. Spielberg sent me down to a recording studio to do that. But you know, the voice work has been interesting. And Lee and I, and we were very good friends. We got drafted to do characters in a cartoon called Rocket Power, and you probably didn't see that, and I wouldn't blame you. But the point is, we were characters. Lee and I were characters in this cartoon show, and or animated feature, animated serial. And there was one time my character generally didn't interweave a lot with Lee's, but there was one episode where my character and his character meet up on this rocket power show, and the director just said, "Look, okay, that's enough of that."
Yeah. I went to do something, and Martin, pull that down, please. Remove it completely. We don't need to show it again. I was trying to take the video down so I could add this, and that happened. I apologize. But that's the show right there, Rocket Power. And I remember the show.
There was one episode.
My daughter.
We did it at Hanna-Barbera in LA, and on a soundstage. And there was one episode we walked in, and it was Lee Ermey and me. And we knew each other, said hello, and how are you, and how's it going? And the director walks in. He said, "Look, I don't have anything for you two. Here's what happens in the show. Now you two just start woofing on each other." And Lee Ermey and I tried to out-drill instructor each other.
Oh man!
And it was, and the problem was we kept laughing. Right in the middle of the thing, because he'd come up with a great one, and then I'd come up with a great one, and the next thing you know, we were cracked up. But voice work like that has been a way to keep me busy when I'm not, working on writing a book or working on a film.
Hey,
by the way,
chat.
Yeah, Mephisto. This is my buddy that was in the IDF, Mephisto, and he's also a history guy. Loves movies. And I'm asking him right now in the chat, where the fuck are you? Why aren't you in here with us right now? So he could talk to you. This is such a fun thing because Anima had an even bigger reaction to your other Apple series this time instead of HBO, Masters of the Air. Oh my God, she loves that show so much. It's like for weeks, that's all she wanted to talk about. I would go, well, I want to talk about this movie, but let's talk about Masters of the Air. It's better. It's got
don't
butter
sound
in
retarded like that, Gary. Stop it. Knock it off.
Yeah, Masters of the Air was the third part of a trilogy. Band of Brothers, The Pacific, Masters of the Air. And that was another one. I'm not a pilot, and I'm not an aircrew guy, and I'm not a big airplane guy. But I am a World War II historian, and I did an enormous amount of research because I had upwards of 55, 60 people I had to train, and I had 2 weeks to do it. And I was teaching something that I didn't really know from firsthand experience. So I had to invent a lot of things. But I think in the end, look, neither the Pacific nor Masters of the Air did as well as Band of Brothers. We set the bar way high with Band of Brothers. And we made mistakes with the Pacific and with Masters of the Air. And we were never able to really reach that pinnacle level that we did with Band of Brothers.
That's the problem with budgets, man. And I know that's the constraint, the biggest constraint.
Budgets, no. We had more money to do the Pacific and to do Masters of the Air than you could count. So it wasn't about money. It was about the approach of the writers and the producers. In the case of Band of Brothers, for instance, we stayed with Easy Company, one outfit. That was it. And you had, for 9-10 episodes, you got to know that outfit. And you got to know the characters. Then we went to Pacific, and you had essentially 3 units being depicted, 1st, 5th, and 7th Marine. So Basilone, Lucky, and Sledge. And you had to keep bouncing between those units in various episodes. And the audience didn't have enough time to identify with them, their surrounding characters and their unit and that sort of thing. So they kind of lost touch. And the same thing happened with Masters of the Air. look, one of the big problems with Masters of the Air, and the technology at this point was fantastic. I mean, we were doing full green screen surround, and we had built 2 radio controlled full size B-17s, at about $1 million each.
Wow, that's amazing.
And we had B-17s carved up in sections that we could mount on a gimbal on a soundstage. So there was no money problem. What there was story problems. The airplane became the star of the show, and that was a difficulty. And we didn't get the wide push out of Apple TV that we did on Band of Brothers or on the Pacific from HBO. So
was all of that on the green screen, or did you use any of the digital round stuff at all?
They had a system set up on a huge soundstage in UK, which is where we were shooting, and it was called the volume unit. And
that's it right there. That's the round volume. Yeah,
it was 360 degrees of projectors. So what was supposed to be happening with the actors in the cockpit or in the fuselage of a B-17, you could actually display so that the actors could react to it. They weren't playing to a green screen. They were actually seeing what the script called for.
Yeah. Oh, see, I love that when they can actually see what they're. Oh, that's incredible.
So
you got to
it
do
really
that.
improved the performances. But again, you had the 2 Buckies, Buck and Bucky, the lead characters, and very few of the other characters drew the interest that those 2 did. And then, in the middle of this air war in the ETO, you suddenly introduce the Muskegee Airmen. DEI. There's a Muskegee Airmen were never anywhere near the 100th bomb group.
Right.
Gotcha.
And so, you're dealing with that. And I bitched. I must have had 3 major meetings, sit-down meetings with writers, producers. And I said, you can't do this. Audiences expect us to be truthful. And you're giving them, just because these guys are black and you want to include some blacks, you're giving us a major violation of the history here. Don't do it.
They don't care.
Yeah, they did it anyway. So we had problems with meeting the expectations that audiences had from Band of Brothers.
And as well as I do, there are going to be a portion of the audience that are going to complain about that. Sure. And there'll be detractors to the show, and they don't care. They don't care. I get that. By the way, I swear to God, I wished this was him. Every time I see this guy, I think Fahim.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, because this would be around the time he escaped Afghanistan. Yeah. It was in the early '80s, as I recall.
Yeah, he'd have been great if we'd had him, but he was.
I don't think he was even trying to act then.
What you're missing on this, is the best performance ever, and it's by the Russian helicopter door gunner.
Yeah, Anima says, "Oh, there he is! There he is!"
1 hour 15 minutes into the movie, we finally
1 hour 15 minutes. Dale dies in the movie.
But it was brilliant.
Yes, it is.
Brilliant.
And I had to, in playing dead, poisoned, I had to keep my mouth open, and the flies were all over.
Oh.
It was a bitch kitty, but I'm glad I got a little piece. I got my mug in there somewhere.
By the way, another friend of ours from Europe, Sandra, is here, and he had a question here? Let me read this. Captain Dale Dye, why do you think Alexander the Great was such a successful commander? Was it because of the phalanx tactics, or was it the love of the men that he had. There you go.
Well, in my view, Alexander was a classic mix of warrior and diplomat. This guy was able to convince tribes all along his march to join him. And when he did, he treated them well. So I think he was constantly reinforcing himself, which is brilliant. If Hitler had been able to do that, I don't know what the hell we'd have ended up with that in World War II. So his business as an inspirational diplomat, you wanted to be part of this guy's thing. That was very important. And I also think he was a tactician that was able to sort of fly himself mentally above what was happening on the ground. In those days, you could only influence what you could see. And so you had to ride over to this and fix something here and ride over and fix something here. And these battles turned into just melees because they lacked tactics. But Alexander had this ability to sort of fly himself above it all and see what was happening on his flanks, see what was happening in the center, and then influence them. And he did that by having a chain of command from right by his side all the way down to the unit that he wanted to influence. And it might have been miles. But he knew it was kind of like a game of telegraph with him. He'd pass the word to this guy who would ride down and pass the word to the next guy who would ride down. So I think he was a classic combination of diplomat and tactician. And in those days, if you coupled that, if you coupled your skills as a diplomat and as a tactician with the fact that you were such a personality that you influence people just by your imagery, just by being there. If you're that kind of personality, and Alexander was, then you're set up for influence and success.
I agree. By the way, I want to let people know Dale worked on the movie Alexander with Oliver Stone, and it was one of the films where he actually got you to do some of the direction, second unit direction, correct?
Yeah, he gave me his second unit to direct it. So a lot of the battles and the movement of
because IMDb doesn't show that, and it annoys me. I'm going to have to make that correction because I'm an editor on IMDb, and I just noticed it today. I'm like, you're listed as senior military advisor, but not as second unit director on that.
I don't know. It's on there somewhere because
I'll find it. And because if it's not, I'm going to fix it.
Listen,
by the way,
10 minutes more, guys.
Guys, if you've got any questions, man, now's the time to come up with it. Joe, Pope, John, Martin, Emma.
We were you just mentioned Oliver Stone talking about Alexander. He's a personal favorite of mine as far as his filmography and everything. How many movies did you work with him on? Are you good friends with him?
Yeah, we're friends. I just saw him recently in Phoenix, by the way. But he's a character. I mean, when we were on the set of Platoon, the crew would call us Ho Chi Minh and John Wayne. You had to figure out which one was who. But I think I've done about 5 with Oliver. There's Platoon, Natural Born Killers, JFK, Born on the 4th of July, and I think there's another one.
The other one with Tommy Lee Jones. The one with Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah. Heaven and Earth. Yeah.
Heaven and Earth. Yeah.
So I think there's 5.
So that's a great career. And on top of that, having a close personal relationship. A lot of people don't know this. You wrote the novelization for Platoon.
I did, yeah.
Which I got you to sign for my dad. And when my dad died, I inherited it.
Listen, I'll tell you, there's something in me, and I wish I could identify it, but I have this creative itch that demands constant scratching. And if I'm not working on movies or television, I'm not writing a script, I'm writing a book, or I'm helping my son with a project. He's a special effects guy on movies now.
Yeah, he's
And
talking
I'm
about
helping
his
him
son
out.
Chris, who's
Yeah.
also a friend of mine. Because I've told people I always feel related to you because you and Julie are family to me. And I said, so I look at Chris as kind of like my quasi brother. And I love the guy. I love your son, man. He's a good dude.
Yeah, he's a pisser.
Very creative, very creative. I love his music.
Yeah, there must be something genetic, you know. Somehow all the guys are born with that creative urge.
That urge, yeah.
Well, the fact that you can use it and lend authenticity to stuff that I don't know what the percentage of the population that's been in the military can actually look at and take pride in the fact that, hey, this guy cares. He knows what the real thing's really like. You know.
Yeah, I do.
I know myself personally, and I think I can speak for the other vets on here. We love it. We love the fact that you make things realistic in movies for sure.
I do, and listen, I do it for guys like you. I'm very, very conscious of guys like you when I'm working on one of these things. But let me just parse what you had to say a little bit here. I think that one of the things I'm best at is not only getting it right for us veterans, but I get it right and thus instruct and teach for people who really don't care, haven't been in the military, don't have any family in the military. They just want to go see a movie. And those folks come away influenced by the way we've presented it. So while my heart is always going to be with the veteran audience, I also see myself as an instructor, as an educator. If I can show the great unwashed, the people who've never worn our uniform, and if I can make them understand to some extent who we are, what we are, how we think, how we talk, how we act, and why, then I think I've also added something that's of value to the society.
Absolutely. And it's why back in between 06 and 07, I created that company that you and Julia joined as part of that with John Del Vecchio, Doug, and all the guys, is Charlie Foxtrot Entertainment, which I would like to bring back one day, but there's legal wranglings over how we do it. But I love the idea that we would do something successful and non-military types would go, and the award goes to Charlie Foxtrot Entertainment, not knowing it just said on national TV, clusterfuck entertainment.
Right.
Yeah, that's a thin deal. It's a thin edge.
Yeah.
Because while we want to try to educate people about who we are as veterans and what our service meant and so on and so forth, some of it is so unbelievable that they're going to say, "Oh, bullshit!" You know, that
bullshit. When in fact it's as real as can be.
We've all been in those situations, so you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, my dad. When we went to see Platoon with my dad, he appreciated the realism because he served in Vietnam.
Yeah,
and in fact, he was attached to the 27th Infantry, so he was happy to see one of the Wolfhounds there.
Sure.
Yeah. And by the way, before you go, I do want to let you know there's some direct comments that were directed at you, Glenn Fleming, who's also one of your contractor employees, Mr. Dale Dye, living legend. 11 Alpha, fellow veteran, and he had this to say: most still think that way, talking about those in Hollywood, they just hide it a little better.
Yeah.
Quote, support the troops, end quote. For too many in Hollywood means, quote, pity the troops, end quote. That's why for years they depicted veterans with PTSD as broken, which is not.
And 11 Alpha is
No.
exactly right. Yeah, that's correct.
And Dale, on a scale of 1 to 10, How realistic was Saving Private Ryan?
The first 15 minutes are a 10.
Yeah.
I will never forget making that sequence. It was, I mean, I got my Eisenhower fix, overlooking that beach. And we did everything to get it right. And I think we did. Now, as the film moved on, there were some departures from strict realism, but that's called movie license.
Movie making, it's movie license.
Making it entertaining.
Making silhouettes walking over a ridgeline, to walking in a close quarter group talking full voice in German occupied France. Lots
So,
of
in answer to your question, opening D-Day Omaha Beach sequence.
Oh, there you are. Is this you?
The rest of it
Yes, it is.
about an 8.
Let it roll. Let it roll.
Okay, this is you, Skipper. This is your first scene in the helicopter.
Let it roll. There's a better slide.
So, what would your scale review be for that whole film, from 0 to 10, 10 being the most accurate?
Are you talking about the Beast?
Yeah, no, the entire film, Saving Private Ryan.
There you go. There's the Skipper.
Look,
There you are.
it's a 10 on Omaha Beach and an 8 all the way through. So you do the average is about a 9.
Yeah, about a 9. There you go. How was it working with a Baldwin?
Even
Mhm.
how is it working with any Baldwin?
Yeah, you have.
Unless the superior
I've worked
Baldwin
with all
working
of
with
them.
This
him
is the
fine, I'm
ultimate
sure.
question for the show before you go. What was it like working with a Baldwin?
It's an interesting deal. It depends. They've all got their little foibles. Alec is way too full of himself. Billy never really made it as an actor, and Steven is just a weird duck.
At least with this one, you didn't have to check his mags every time.
I think he's a fundamentalist preacher now or something. But
Yeah, he is. He's a fundamentalist, and still, politically really odd. But I want to thank you for being here, Skipper.
Sure.
It just means so much. I tell people I work for the guy, and I should occasionally ask him to be on the show because it's always wonderful when I get to hang out with you. And I know these guys, they're never going to forget hanging out with you today.
Great. Well, listen, it's always fun. And as I said, I really meant it. I do it for guys like you. And to have you, parse it and investigate it and take it apart is a good part of my life. So thanks, guys. I really appreciate it.
People
Thank you,
appreciate it.
sir. Thank you for your service. Really.
And thank you for your work on this film. The film didn't do well, but it is very memorable with so many people. They'll go, I love that movie, because they didn't get to see it until it hit VHS.
Got it. Okay, guys. Thanks very much. Talk to you later.
God bless. See you later, Skipper.
Yeah.
Well, I saw this. I think it was on HBO. I was just channel hunting. And
Yeah,
boom.
that's right. That's the other way some people saw it. I rented it on VHS, but yes, it was available on HBO when they released it. And I got to tell you, man, it had a second life. And I think that if they'd had better marketing, it would have made more money. Just to tell you,
It's got a bit of a cult status.
I mean, this film cost $8 million to make. That's all it cost, and that's
unheard of.
Like 18 million in the 80s was considered indie. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this is 1987 when they shot this for $8 million fucking dollars, and look what they put on screen. Every penny went into what you see on screen. The actors, I'm sure.
Wonder how much of that went for tank rental.
I guarantee you. Well, he got that deal. I'm sure it was pretty cheap, because he went out drinking with those guys in Israel at a hotel and worked a deal to get these tanks in there, and the helicopter too, by the way. He made connections. Oh, of course, Zax arrives right after he leaves. Excellent timing, Zax.
Fuck you, Kyle.
Wait.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
Wait. Oh,
That's
what
it.
happened?
Throw everybody out of the show before you find the video. Go.
There is. What are the new ones?
They're in Maine. They should be
I'm
in the
in
Maine.
Maine.
I can't do anything. I can't do your job for you, buddy.
That's right. I can help you out. Fuck you, Kyle.
I'm physically unable to do it because it won't let me scroll. Right at the bottom.
I know they used to be right at the bottom, but there are no.
Not
There
used to
aren't
be. I
anymore.
just put them in there.
Jesus
Join the
Christ,
movie.
we have 5 videos for sex.
It
Oh,
probably
this is
in
movie
here where you
matinee,
didn't
not-
set up. Yeah, you got to set up all 3 studios.
I don't
Buddy.
have the videos.
Look at this. Skipper leaves and the show falls apart.
Don't worry about it, chat. In true Soviet fashion, the producer will be sent to the gulag.
Right?
That's right.
If you can
Okay.
get past my sicarios.
Right? Yeah, you better watch out, bro. Oh man.
Well, just
Good
as
to
long as
talk
he's
to him,
back
man.
next week for my show.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good to talk to him, Gary. He's wow.
He's
What a wealth
just-
of knowledge, man.
And you know what? I got to tell you, he's still. I still will admit this. I get butterflies when I talk to him. I've been working for this man for 19 fucking years, and he still causes me nervous trepidation
Well,
because he does not put up with bullshit.
I was fixing to say he sounds like the kind of guy that commands respect just by the way he acts, not because he demands it. You know what I mean?
No, exactly. And by the way, somebody, I think it was Tom, that said it, that you can tell he's creative because of his cadence when he
Mhm.
talks.
Mhm.
And but also, just to let you know, Tom, that's military. He has a military cadence when he talks. He's a natural leader. He was part of the Smitties, as they were called. The Smitties was a group of combat correspondents in Vietnam, which is featured in the film Full Metal Jacket. And in fact, if you watch Full Metal Jacket, and I've already made this joke with Skipper, I said, you know, in Full Metal Jacket, a black guy is playing you, right? Race swapped him. They've race swapped him. But in the movie, credited as Daddy DA, is a black actor. He doesn't I don't think he even has a line in there. He is. That's Dale right there, dead. And that's what makes this scene so rough for them, is they realize, oh, that's the crew we're just with. We'd be dead if we'd been with them.
Yep. And I do like how they did the characters in the tank crew too, that every one of them's a son of a bitch for one reason or another.
Yeah, the Baldwin character is the only one there who's just a fucking doofus as a character. His character is doofus. And, you know, also, what's his name? Oh my God. He plays the Afghani Terp, Eric Avari's character. What was it? Samad? Was it
Yes.
Samad? Okay. Samad is also not a son of a bitch. When he gets murdered by the tank commander, that's when I really hated that motherfucker, because he was so fucking paranoid that he killed his own interpreter.
Yeah,
Tells
I mean,
him to
he
go
was
out
like
and walk
one-
out in that water.
He was one of the good members of that crew, but even like the quote unquote good one who joins the Mujahideen at the end, well, he's also a snitch.
Well,
like that little logbook he's carrying, that's to turn into the KGB.
yeah,
That's interesting. Yeah.
but
Because
those
he tells him, I am a member in good standing. And he's talking about being a member of the Communist Party.
Yep, and that little logbook is their little snitch book of everything wrong that he's noticed, and whoever will be, punished for it. Now,
Well,
in the
that's his
80s,
job.
it wasn't as bad as it was under like Stalin, but you'd still be in trouble.
By the way, is that Sandra Hammerslag I just saw? Yeah. There's only one Baldwin that we accept on this channel, and that is actor Adam Baldwin. He is, as Anima says, the superior Baldwin.
Oh, we all called him that because he is.
Yep.
I would like to point out
you
that that's
started
not actually. I would like to point out that's not actually a Soviet helicopter. That's French.
No. Yes.
No, it's French, but its design is very similar. And
Yeah,
again,
similar.
thanks to the Israelis. It's the
Yeah.
Israelis who gave it to them. It is very. In fact, when I saw it, I thought it was, because I'm like, that really looks like it. Unlike the Hind that they show in other movies, is like that's not even close to a Hind.
And at least with this movie, it's Stephen Baldwin, so you don't have to make sure the tank's not loaded every time.
Yeah, we don't talk about that one, Glenn. I will not accept anything that's overly DEI, and that's overly DEI. When you race swap a historical figure, it's insulting to the intelligence. And
Yes,
I support anything that, because Anima knows I fucking love black cinema and blaxploitation films that were made by black directors and black writers. I fucking love that shit. I will watch it all day. And come on, Black Dynamite, great fucking comedy. Talking about that shit. This must be it. He's got. Look how close that eyepiece was.
Yeah, he's gonna turn into a pirate.
No.
Yeah.
That wasn't the scene. He fires it.
Well, I know it's clearly not the scene, but at the same time, he's still holding it too close.
Dude, did you notice that freaking Sandokan is in this movie?
What?
Kabir Bedi. He was the uncle of the main of the Khan of the tribe.
I don't know what name you're saying. It sounds like you're saying Capyberry.
Kabir Bedi.
Habib Bedi.
Yeah.
Who is that?
Remind me. You didn't saw Sandokan, the tiger of the Malaysian?
No.
Oh. Okay.
All right, that informative moment was brought to you by Martin Acosta Santana.
You see, Sander remembers.
All right, remind me later so I can check out. By the way, when I first saw this, I'm like, is that an M6? An M60? I thought at first it was an M60. And then I'm looking at it, I'm like, that is not an M60. And it took me years to finally find out that is actually a fucking modified Russian tank that they got a hold of. I'm like, wow, dude.
Well, that was what threw me off was the gun. I'm like, that the hull looks like a T-55.
It's 105.
That's what it is. Yeah. It's a T-55 that was captured in the 6-Day War.
Yep.
That they
modified it.
They replaced the gun with a 105 millimeter US. They also replaced the machine guns, the internal machine guns anyway. I don't know about the swivel mount, but
by the way, Gambit, I'm sorry, Gambit, that is such a great one. Thank you. Mark Isham is one of the other things that makes this film so fucking good. And they did a fucking limited release on the soundtrack because it tanked. And it made the actual CDs that they did put out so fucking expensive on the soundtracks. Or I think they put it on vinyl. Sorry, vinyl. And it was crazy prices for them. And so it was next to impossible to ever get the soundtrack for this. And I wouldn't be surprised if later La La Land may have released it. But by that point, I lost my interest in collecting soundtracks. This scared the shit out of me. When they're running clearly right next to the ledge of that fucking cliff.
Yeah.
I don't care if that's a 20-foot cliff. I wouldn't fucking do that. Because I've seen the edges of cliffs give away.
Yeah, come on.
And especially on loose terrain like that, all it takes is your foot to slip once and now you're going for a ride.
Thank you.
Especially rolling down a 20-foot cliff in front of a T-55.
Yeah, running over the stones.
I've never heard of it, Sander. Martin has marked it down for me to check out later, buddy. By the way, I want to thank all of you guys in the chat. Some great comments, some really good questions, except for the one about 1 out of 10. How would you rate Saving Private Ryan? Whoever wrote that, man, be ashamed. No, I'm just kidding. That was a good question.
You know, the thing I love about that movie is they actually explained a sticky bomb. That was cool.
Yep.
I dug
that. Was all. That was all him. That was Dale Dye pushing that shit.
And it's in the fucking manual, man.
Oh, this is when he throws the fucking RPG. I know you got to fucking prime that thing. I don't fucking care. That fucking freaked me out when he threw that fucking RPG round at him. I'm like, oh my god, don't drop that. Because even without the pin pulled, I'm like, oh my god, anything bad could happen. It will. Murphy's Law, dude.
If it lands on his
by the
head,
way, this is the shot. That was the shot right there. That when I'm looking at that, I'm like, that is not an M60. That's not the wheel section of it. I'm like,
that's how you can tell it is a actual T55. Well, 55 or 54, which is just the earlier version.
Tom Baker says I'm pushing it.
It's a 55.
Yeah,
I looked it up.
A lot of 54s were upgraded into 55s because they still had the hulls. They just kind of kept modifying them to keep them in service longer because the Russians don't ever get rid of anything if it still works.
Yeah, I know, right?
Guys. We have a dear Sarge. He's a member of our community. He's watching the show on Rumble, and he's telling us that The Beast is available for free on Tubi. So if you want to watch this, go there.
It's called The Beast in some places, but in fact, the way it got released on disc and the modern copies, it's always referred to as The Beast of War because people apparently were confused. When they saw The Beast, they're like, no, this isn't a movie about Satan and the Antichrist. This
copy on screen only says The Beast.
Yep.
That's fine. I get it. I remember the film being called that. We have an audio to play, please.
Oh, let's do that. There you go.
So lonely and sad, alone.
And come on, where are you, Sander? Where's your request for something on Bakalakadaka Street?
Oh, he did it.
I know. What? We're doing a movie about the Middle East, and he fucking drops the ball.
Actually, he did say something about it earlier.
No, he did.
This is one of my favorite moments that I'm like.
Go. I've got 5 terrorists going southeast on Bakalakadaka Street.
Yeah. So when that cliff exploded, I'm like, that didn't just fall. Like, what's going on here? I was really confused. Like, was that another gunship? I was like, what is going on here? You know, and no, that was the women with that explosive they showed earlier, where they had grenades with either a rock or plastique in the middle. I'm like, what is that? And these women,
that looks like a brick of Semtex.
The women were the fly in the ointment for the characters in this film, because every time you think that things are resolved, the women would remind you, no, it's not.
This isn't over until we say it is.
And I hate saying this, but this is a historical fact that the biggest group of the most radical members of any belief system are the women.
Yep.
They're the ones with the strongest sense of belief over even the men that believe. That includes in Germany during World War II. In fact, that was crazy. How religiously they believed in what was being done. It's insane. And so the women in this are absolutely the fly in the ointment for the characters, because just as soon as they let the Russians live, they run down and fucking kill that commander and take his boots and his uniform off of him. and throw him to the ground, covered in fucking blood, because that's how they beat him to death, with rocks. And he just laid down. He buttoned his top collar and laid down and accepted his fate. Because the last he fought for it right here, because he was ready to self-delete right here.
Yeah,
gave them all grenades. We're self-deleting, and then the two surviving members fight him over that grenade and put the pin back into the grenade. But then just all hell breaks loose. It's like, in the end, those two guys survive, and in the end, Jason Patric's character returns to Russia, but one of the members of the Mujahideen is about to shoot him, while the other one, Stephen Bauer's character, Khan, saves him, knocking the guy's weapon. Don't, because he says he's one of us, you know, and he lets him know it. Even though he's going up in that helicopter, he says, "I'm going home. I am one of you," and he holds up the rifle, and he's keeping that fucking rifle, not as a memento, but as a reminder. Memento means that, but a lot of people don't know. They think that just means something somebody collected.
The connotation.
But it's not just a Christopher Nolan movie.
It's not just, and it's
my God, Joe.
Good one, Joe. Good callback. By the way, this guy, all I could think of is Muammar Gaddafi. Yeah, that's all I could think. A lot of people don't know that apparently, I guess he produced the movie. Yeah. Hollywood movie.
The Lion of the Desert.
Yeah, we talked about this weekend. That motherfucker was one of the main investors in that fucking movie with Anthony Quinn and Rod Steiger. We have to do that movie now. We have to do that. What is that? Magda Goebbels killed her own 6 kids. Oh, yes. I watched on History Channel documentary about some of that shit. She knew what the Soviets were going to do to them. And so she didn't do it out of her passion towards the belief. She did it because she knew there would be tortured, the entire family. And she remembered, you know, they weren't too nice to the Romanovs, and they were Russian.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's weird. 911 versus 911 telephone number, right? And it's all how it's written. What annoys me is when people refer to it instead of 911 as 911. I said, no, it's 911.
Yeah,
That's
please.
how it's supposed to be said.
There's a distinction there.
Number by number. Please don't don't conflate that.
Well, isn't Tom in the UK? Should it be 999?
Yeah, in the UK, there are other countries. It might even be in New Zealand or Australia. They use something similar to that.
But it's one of those distinctions of, you know, between it's time to eat grandma and it's time to eat grandma.
Oh boy,
commas are important. Punctuation is important. Yes, Pope. Good one. I'm so sorry you didn't hear, because I wanted to ask him about this last scene. Because apparently he wanted to do a lot of his own physical stuff in this. If that was him going up on that fucking lift in that helicopter, or if he also had a stunt double for that. And it's something I meant to ask and I forgot to ask him.
Wait, Pope, if you think running on sandals is difficult, imagine the Baldwin guy having to run barefoot on the rock.
Oh, it wasn't the Baldwin that was barefoot. It was the other one.
Yeah. By the way, that dude's a great actor too. Don Harvey. He's been in a lot of fucking good stuff over the years. He's always been a good character actor. Okay. He was in that movie about the Black Sox scandal.
Yeah.
What was that movie called?
I think it's called 8 Men Out. I think. I'm not sure.
That is it. 8 Men Out.
Yeah.
He's also in another Dale Dye movie called Casualties of War, which I have a big beef with that movie because, one, the director is a communist.
Oh my God. It's
all he wants to do is make movies to try to make soldiers look bad. That's all he gives a shit about. American soldiers look bad. But I know he was in that one too. trying to think. Oh God, I can't think of any other movies he was in. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm drawing blanks. But he's been in a lot of stuff and he's still working. And I also am a big fan of Bauer. I think he's a good actor. Look at her just covered in fucking
That's
blood,
creepy.
walking up.
That's creepy as fuck when she gives that shy little smile and just tosses the uniform down.
He smiles.
Mm-hmm.
And she basically says mission accomplished, you know. And he looks at her like, what the fuck did you do? Because that's another one I wanted to brought up, because it's a reference, because we learn about this in the movie, again, in the movie Soul Survivor. Because they gave him protection.
Nanawati, which is the title of the original book on which the play and
the
this
play.
Is.
Yeah, the play and book, because it was about that. And also part of the inspiration for this was the author had witnessed firsthand in his venture into Afghanistan the execution of a tank crew.
Oh, God.
By members of the Mujahideen. And wondered what was their story before that. Yeah, I know he's going up here, but I think some of this is him up in the fucking air for real. And not a stunt double. It's very lean, and it's because, like I said, $8 million budget and every penny went on screen. Very little Hollywood shit in this movie. And I got to tell you, and this is something I wish I'd asked him too, if this was the one film where he had the most impact on what was done on screen, because it really feels like this movie has so much Dale Dye in it. And I do. I love this fucking movie. I love the soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
And there is a mistake. There's a Russian punk song featured in the movie in one scene being played over radio that actually didn't come out until 1983, which is 2 years after the events of the movie.
Yeah,
I made sure this got captured.
Thank you, dude. And again, I got to tell you, I will die knowing at least one thing. And this is knowing that my daughter will love me long beyond my death. Anima Confuso will probably resent me dying, but still kind of love me once I die. But I will have left this earth knowing I fucking work for Dale Dye. And people could say whatever you fucking want about me. Man, I work for Dale fucking Dye. That guy's my boss. And when I have a rough day, I remind myself that guy's my boss. And I wrote it one day and I said, I fucking love and know Dale Dye. And Julia responded back on my Facebook page, you are loved and appreciated by Dale Dye as well. And I'm like, thank you. Was this better than the masterpiece of Rambo 3? Yeah, we don't go into that. God, I fucking hate that movie. Is John in the panel really Michael Douglas? Oh my God. We were talking about it the other day, John. And right after I made the joke, you popped into the chat and I thought, that was weird. Did he hear me talking about it? I said, yeah, we're going to have to cover that movie, Falling Down. You know, the movie starring Robert Duvall and Das Wolfen.
One thing I did want to
you have to do it with us, by the way, John. What, Pope?
One thing I did want to point out with this movie too is how they wrote the characters, in that you don't get these, modern day like exposition dumps on who these guys are. They just showed you who they were by what they were doing.
Yeah, don't tell it, show it.
It's like, and you got a good feel for all of these characters, good and bad, by their actions, not by the things they said or what people said about them.
Right. And I do want to point historically, and I brought it up while Dale was here, that there were Soviet soldiers who defected and joined the Mujahideen during the Soviet-Afghan War. And they were motivated by moral opposition to the war, the harsh treatment they saw in the army to themselves as well as to the enemy. And some of the examples of that was Kazbek Hudalov, Sergei Busa, and Vladislav Namov. And these guys not only defected, they stayed after the war and became fundamental Muslims and stayed in Afghanistan and never left. So this war had an impact, but people don't like to talk about it. The same thing happened in Vietnam.
Yeah,
And,
that was their Vietnam. It was, yeah.
In fact, I think in the book, it's either Fields of Fire or Rumor of War by Philip Caputo that talks about they ran into a black combatant with the Viet Cong. And they realized that this guy was a deserter in the American military. And there's something that happens because, you know, we look at this film and you go, well, I understand, but there's something emotional that happens to a soldier when they see somebody desert their post and join the enemy. And it's not a very good thing. It impacts us in a very negative way. That's why there was so much hatred within the military towards Bergdahl for what he did.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, they could not go back there. Yeah, they were not go back there. But they probably could have found safe haven somewhere. But they just stayed there because they accepted the life. They liked it there. They liked the people. And there's a lot of wonderful people there when you're not being attacked by them, trying to be killed by them. So
damn man.
the artwork isn't accurate on that on the poster with that rifle. That's not a Giselle. Because the buttstock's not curved enough.
You threw me off because I pronounced that as a hard G. I was raised pronouncing that, but I know what you're saying now. I'm like, oh,
is it Giselle?
Okay.
Gazelle?
I was taught that. Yeah.
I always thought it was J.
Look,
but
man,
anyway,
until you hear somebody from there say it, that's what I was taught is Gazelle.
But no, they did decorate those rifles are from the 1840s, from the first Anglo-Saxon War or Anglo-Afghan War.
Yep.
And they're just handed down, and they're decorated, and they're considered family heirlooms.
Wow.
So let me give this information here because I took the time to write this down. The film was shot in Israel. Several actual T-55 tanks were used in the film. However, the helicopter used in the film was not a real Mi-8, but an aerospatial SA-321 Super Freelon. The tank in question in the movie is actually an Israeli modified T-55 captured by the Israelis from their Arab armies, redesignated as a TI-67 and fitted with the 105 millimeter gun, and it's replacing the original 100 millimeter gun. So I wrote all that stuff down, but I didn't get to go to my notes. And another one thing I wrote, the T-62, or also the TI-67 tank in particular is more distinctly known as the Tiran 5SH. Many of these conversions were used by the Israelis during the 1973 Yom Kippur War. The film's military advisor, Dale Dye, has written that he negotiated the purchase of the tanks. They weren't rented. The purchase of the tanks over drinks with Israeli Defense Force officers in his Tel Aviv hotel bar. And that's what he talked about earlier. So they did not lease these. They were the property of the film. Former Syrian tank, the Egyptian tanks were all destroyed. I don't know.
Like I said, it was captured in the 6-Day War, from what I looked at
in Yom Kippur. Yep. So, well, that's it, guys. Anima, what did you think of the show? Did you have fun? Are you in there? Rocket Kitty?
Yeah, pretty much. Lots of rockets.
It's fun. It was fun hanging out with Dale, wasn't it?
Oh, I wouldn't have opened my mouth if you hadn't prompted me to. I'm so nervous around this.
Which is why I prompted it.
Yeah.
Joe, did you have a good time?
You kidding me, man? It's always good to hang out with Skipper, man. He's awesome.
He's amazing.
What a great wealth of knowledge, and he has no problem. You know, he doesn't talk down to people, man. He's one of us, man. He's very cool. Love him to death.
Oh.
Yep.
No, it's always great to talk to him, and especially about a movie he worked on, because that you get actual information from the guy who's making decisions on it. And I've always loved pretty much every movie he's in or worked on, because, like we said, he does bring an authenticity and an effort to movies that a lot of other guys just don't.
I agree. Glenn, thank you. Yes. I will get him back on again when we cover a film that he might want to talk about. But catching him right now, because he's in rehab right now from his surgery. So I knew I could catch him. Just was he going to be in the mood? And of course, he sent me a letter letting me know he loves doing this stuff. So he enjoys coming on the show. And he's been here on multiple times. And in fact, some of our most watched short videos are the ones with Dale Dye, where I clipped him talking about something and pointing out things that people didn't know about movies he worked on. Little bits of trivia. How many movies has Dale worked on? I can tell you that really quick.
Yeah, just hit his filmography. It ought to have the number.
Yeah, Dale Dye. I'll just type it in Dale Dye, and you go to his page. It says actor Mission Impossible, and a lot of people don't know that he was Agent Barnes.
Yeah, he's in the OG with Kittredge, man.
Yeah.
That's his right hand man. Yeah, shit, yeah.
And why he wasn't brought back, because Tom Cruise is a friend of his, and he loved him so much that he had him play his dad in the movie Night and Day. And when you get the director's cut of that film, that's a fun movie. I like that movie and I own it. I bought a copy of it. I didn't.
Night and Day. I love that movie. It's
great. A hack copy. I bought the director's cut through Amazon. But he has worked on right now 87 films and television shows. And coming up, it will be 9 because he has 2 more coming out. Stupid Cupid as Commander Hardy, and Citizen Soldier. He plays Lieutenant General Courtney Hodges.
And 7 video games.
Right. Don't forget the video games. I wasn't bullshitting. That's the game that broke me of playing first person shooters. Was that original Medal of Honor? The Normandy beach landing at the beginning of that game is an assault on the senses, man. It's ridiculous.
It was a repeat of the intensity of the movie.
Yeah,
Saving Private Ryan.
Amazing.
I'm still waiting for you to feature Jack Palance in Attack from 1955, best war film ever. If you like overacting, yeah. No, I love the movie Attack. It's a good film, dude. I agree.
I love that,
and it is on our list.
I love that
Palance definitely choose scenery no matter what movie he's in.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Pope.
But yeah, I love that that intro to Medal of Honor, because it gives you the experience of some 18-year-old kid who just got dumped off on Omaha Beach of just, well, here you go, try not to die.
Yeah.
Good luck. Good luck.
Guys
with that.
yelling at you the whole time, the whole screen's shaking and shit.
Move this way, knife handing you. Move this way. You move that way.
It really
Knife
is.
hand.
I mean, I have, I'm not big into war games, but that one I decided to try, and it's realistic, man. That's fun.
The military knife hand. It is aerodynamically designed to instruct, direct, and punish.
Right.
That's my own original. I made that up. It is aerodynamically designed to do those 3 functions. And
awesome.
Yaphet, anything with Yaphet is good. My favorite film with him was that New York film, The Park Is Mine. I was surprised.
But the one he's talking about is great. Star Chamber is one of the best movies you'll ever see.
I got to tell you, I've never watched it. When I never saw the trailer for it. I saw the poster and I went, eh. And but I've had people tell me, dude, you need to see that movie.
Yeah,
So it's
you
on my
do,
list
because
of movies
it's
I skip.
something we actually, it's the dangers of something we secretly love to do. Okay, we really, as a society, we would love to see these guys that get off on technicalities taken care of, and this
Yeah.
shows the
Oh,
dangers of
yeah.
it.
Like
Okay, and it's
Dexter.
awesome. Yeah.
Like Dexter. And by the way, I want to bring up that other film. I was going to ask him a question about it because we talked about it previously, him, Julia, and I, and that the film Battleground was the first film to utilize what he did. When he came back in the 80s, he did for Hollywood what was done in one movie, Battleground, which is those guys were trained. They went to boot camp, the actors that hadn't served in the military. And of course, the guys that did serve in the military were reminded of what they did. And so they would help the other guys that were non-military actors in the film. And Battleground was the first film to utilize a skill set where they had real military, active duty military personnel training the soldiers in that movie, the actors. And we've talked about that movie. Great movie, man. It's got a weird editing thing that happens in it, which I brought up, which I think it was supposed to go a different direction, but they made a choice in releasing a film to cut some minutes out of it. And so it's got this weird, clunky editing right towards the end of the movie. Ariel Bullet is here. Goodbye. I mean, goodbye. What the fuck? Goodbye? Like, hello. Because we do have to say goodbye. It's in my mind. We got to go. And The Mouse That Roared with Peter Sellers. I love that fucking movie. Ariel, I fucking love that movie. And it is on the list of films I want to introduce to Anna because I'm certain she's never heard of that movie. I love that
No,
little
she
film.
hasn't.
It's a comedy about a small country, unknown European country that I think it's supposed to be like Belgium. That
Unknown
nobody
to
even
who?
unknown. It's a country unknown to a lot of people, like to the West, and Europeans just sort of like, oh, it's nothing. It's not a real country, and it's like so. It is a great little film where the mouse that roared about this little country that stood up, spoke up, and had a big Tom Baker. I knew he was going to react to that. It's like because a lot of people not in Europe, like Belgium. Where is that? Is that like next to Denmark? Wait, what is that? Is that
that's where Hercule Poirot's from?
Is that on the end of Norway? Where is that? You know, people don't fucking know. I run into it all the time.
Or Belgian, not French.
And it's not just Americans. It's like I met people from all over the world that don't know where. Like, tell me where. Show me on the map where it touched you. No, show me on the map where Belgium is without having to look at the names. And there's a lot of American tourists over there. I know that. It is a hit tourist location. But if you go into parts of this country, and not just this country, I've run into this with people from overseas that not from Europe, but from other parts of the world that have no idea where the fuck Belgium is. And it's like,
God, Alpha.
Wrote a paper in law school on why Belgium should no longer be a. Oh my God!
Oh my God!
Knowing where country is on a map, that is one thing. Knowing it exists, that is like I was mind blown.
Oh well, people know the country.
Girls check in, and they asked me about my accent. Said I'm from Austria. They had never heard of Austria. They didn't know it.
90% of the women that don't know things like that, they're lefties. They're lefties.
Oh,
they
were
don't
just
fucking
crazy.
Learn real stuff. So we have a great quote, by the way. I don't know if you guys caught it, and I'm keeping that. We got to go through the chat because I put the quote from Dale Dye that needs to be on our fucking channel. I need to clip it. It said something, and I can't remember what the fuck it was, but it cracked me up so much I had to post it. Where he was criticizing something with the video game when Spielberg makes him look at the video game.
Yeah,
and
why do I give a shit?
It's a video game. Who gives a shit?
I love that.
And I'm like,
funny.
Oh my fucking God, we need to clip that.
Yeah.
And play that play that on here, not as a short, but on here as a clip. Because that
Right, as a clip,
it's a
when you're
video
playing
game. Who
Call of
gives a shit?
Duty and something fucks up, it's a video game. Who gives a shit?
It's a video game. Who gives a shit? I was like, oh my God, I fucking love that. That is a great quote from Dale Dye. Any of you in the chat know where Martine's background comes from? And if you know, you can be a friend to me. You can be a friend.
Well, I'm already your friend. I know where it comes from.
Well, he's asking the chat, though, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm asking the chat if anybody in the chat knows what that comes from. Lost film because of the subject matter. What's this one? Oh, Executive Action. I have that movie. I went to see that in the theater with my dad. Burt Lancaster is in that. And really, I like that movie a lot. I like it a lot.
I like it. I like it a lot.
There's a question for you, Anima.
What about Liechtenstein? We sure Anima isn't from there?
That is one of the tiniest countries there is.
I mean, she hates the Muppets.
Well, you know what? When I think about it, I think Liechtenstein is probably closer to what they're kind of poking fun at in The Mouse That Roars, rather than Belgium so much. But countries like Belgium, they're really small. And then you got Liechtenstein, that just like people like Liechtenstein, what is that, a dish?
Oh.
That's where that's where Heath Ledger says he's from in that Night movie.
That Night movie.
The
A Knight's Tale?
A Knight's Tale, yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Oh, okay, yeah. I have to go back. I want to watch that movie.
The one where Paul Bettany is the voice, and he sells.
I fucking enjoy that fucking movie, dude.
That's great, dude. The rock music
so
coupled
weird
with the medieval
the
stuff.
rock scene where they're dancing. It's like a Bali movie for a second. I'm like,
that is what ruined it for me.
Oh, come
and
on.
I'm like,
the whole thing is a joy to watch. Man.
I will admit, that pulled me out of the fucking movie. But then I got right back into it again. All thanks to Paul Bettany.
Paul Bettany makes the movie.
It's Paul Bettany and what's his name? The other guy that's in it is really good. The voice actor that Anima likes. He's a Resident Alien is in it.
Alan Tudyk.
Yes, thank you. Alan Tudyk. I enjoy that fucking movie, but that scene, they could have edited that out and I would have been so much happier. That is such a weird scene. And it's Queen, right?
Yeah. We will rock you.
Yep. Great song. Does not belong in a Middle Ages movie.
Oh.
And as I recall, Gambit, Executive Action was about the Kennedy assassination. If I recall correctly. I have to pull that movie. I own it. I will fucking pull that out and watch it. We are going to start doing some stuff on Saturdays once we're done with the Bond series, the best of Bond series. And we'll do probably one Bond movie a month and on a Saturday. And then on Saturdays, we will also be doing Kung Fu Cinema, martial arts. It'll be called Martial Arts Cinema. We will do Sci-Fi Saturday. We will. I will probably do horror, but I tend to like to doing that on Wednesday and Friday. I like doing then, but I love doing sci-fi on Saturdays because sci-fi and Saturday are connected to me because I grew up watching sci-fi movies on Saturday sci-fi theater on TV in Phoenix.
I was going to say
Illinois.
your Kung Fu theater needs to be on Saturday mornings too, don't it? I mean,
well, afternoons. The morning show is just simply for members only. We don't know how many people watch that video. It doesn't show us, but we're going to do those videos just for an hour in the morning on Saturdays where we'll either talk about something interesting or I'll bitch about something in entertainment, you know? But I do want to thank everybody. What's this? Wait a minute. Was in the Peruvian militia, sold secrets to Chile, bought secrets from Ecuador. Now I want food. You said Chile. So now I want chili, or I want turkey with grease on it. But anyway. So this episode is brought to you by Martin Acosta Santana with hair. It is also brought to you by, again, got to leave the fucking theater, and this is getting ready to happen. There we go. It's brought to you by Backdoor Beaver. Thank you very much, guys, for being here with us today. We really fucking appreciate it. We don't just appreciate it, we fucking appreciate it.
Right.
So
that's too
absolutely appreciate you guys being here today. Great chat. Great discussion with you guys. And I want to thank, let's get to the beginning here. Snortapoopas, Cuber was first in the house. Apollome's Minion, 11 Alpha, Penny, Glenn Fleming. That's Ian's. He is the better Fleming over Ian Fleming. Andy Morrow, Gambit 1987, our friend Tom Baker, Sander Hammerschlag, and the Comic Relief Crusader popped in. Ariel Bullet. I want to thank all you guys for all your comments. And I know Dale enjoyed himself. I can tell he had a good time. And I know it sucks when he has to go, but he has schedules that he has to keep to. And when he's got to go, he's got to go.
You got to go.
And it's not just because he has to go poop or anything. I'm saying, he's got shit to do other than shitting. I'm trying to say there's so many fucking. I know I'm stuck and I don't know how to get out of it. Did they use cocoa butter in? Oh, and that is a butter reference again to The Last Tango in Paris.
Oh,
and one of the reasons why I never watched another movie by that director, and why I have so many problems with Marlon Brando. Yeah, bring Dale Dye for some more streams when it's possible, because I don't want. He is like one of those guys. He's like that special move that Ultraman uses at the end, where you don't use it all the way through, you use it at the end. We will pull him when it's like necessary. You pull the pin on him when he's needed. So, or as the sergeant once said about me when it comes to fighting, you don't break the glass on Gary until it's absolutely needed. That was my sergeant. That's a quote. Because he saw me in a fight, and I fucking went through like 3 guys just so quickly, and he was like, holy shit, he really knows how to fight. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't like it. But I do know how, because I'm anti-violence. I'm close to a pacifist. I really am, which is so funny that Sergeant called me a pacifist. Dell will arrive in our time of need, not before. And again, one of my proudest accomplishments, he has only had to correct me 3 times in 19 years on something I did artistically. In fact, one of them was in writing. He corrected something that I had a character say, and he goes, that's not what he would say. He would say this. And I went, oh, okay. And I fixed it. There was one bit of dialogue in Vindicated that he fixed. He has not looked at the current pages. I'm not going to drop those on him until I'm completely done with this book. And it is going to be split into 2 books. It's just too many fucking pages. This is going to be over 200 pages.
Yeah, that needs to be 2 books.
Yeah, it's like when I was done with all the writing and editing, and I looked at it and did all the breakdowns, I'm like, holy shit, I'm at 150 pages right now, and I'm not done. And it's like, I have to break some of this stuff off, and I have to decide what goes into book 2 and what is kept in book 1, because it has to be, each book has to be its own cohesive story arc. It has to make sense. And so, Attack's a really good film, dude. It really is. And I have heard rumors about Jack Palance that the look on his face, not his expression, but his face itself was reconstructed, that he was injured, that he was a pilot in the Korean conflict, and that he was injured in combat in his face. And so the face we get in film is the face he had after the war. But there's no photos of him before the war. I can't find one single photo anywhere. And other people have complained about that you can't find photos of him before the Korean War. I hope your hand lettering looks lettering his books. The answer to that is fuck no. I paid over $200 for the Dave Gibbons font, and I used Dave Gibbons lettering, and that was $200. It was $245 for the entire font set.
Let me tell you something.
And
you don't want to hand letter something. My God,
it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. It's like the longer you work on something, the less money you made from doing it.
Hello.
Also, the longer it takes, and it already takes so long because I'm doing all of the artwork on this book, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
The writing, I'm doing the editing, and once the book is completed, I will keep it layered so I can send it to Dale and Julia for them to military advise it, because they are my technical advisors on the book, and they will send me their edit notes, and then I will be able to go in and make those edits. You should use the Glenn.
I'm not going to hand letter my shit. That's for sure. That's going to be.
You need to turn your lettering into a font, and then give it to me, and I will, as long as it doesn't suck. I can't remember your lettering, buddy, so I'm going to have to go look at some of your stuff again, because I look at your artwork, and I know your artwork, which is good. He's a very good artist.
The only thing I'd ever letter is sound effects. You know what I mean? The pow, the bang, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Even the earlier version of Jekyll and Hyde is incredible, the way they pulled off the effects in that. They had an in-camera effect, which was done by using, because it's black and white, they used the filter to actually show his face changing right in front of you, not animated. And what it was is they used the special makeup that only would show up with that special filter. So they would put the filter in, and suddenly you would see it arrive on camera. It's fucking crazy. So anyway, guys, we're going to get the hell out of here. I appreciate everyone showing up today. God, what an exciting show having him on.
Yeah, man. Thanks for inviting us. That's really a treat to talk to somebody like that. Yep.
John, did you enjoy yourself?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
because nobody can tell.
I don't hear.
Yeah, nobody can tell because you have one expression. That's it. That's it right there.
Hey, I can confirm he smiles because I drew a smile when I drew his.
I've made him smile. I've made him chuckle. So
this is my war face.
I only make him drop his head when I'm mean. That's the expression I'm getting out of him.
I got to tell you guys, you've not seen trolling until you watch my fiance troll John while he's playing a video game on Friday nights.
Yes.
What was the last one you did when you shit on him? That was so fucking funny.
The 36th version of episode of him playing Fallout, and I opened with 36 months. No,
weeks.
It was 36 weeks. A woman makes a baby in that time. When is this thing going to be cooked? It's taking forever.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Everybody have a great day. There will be no KGR show tonight. They're doing a best of because it is Labor Day here in the U.S. Yep. And so I'm not going to let a holiday ever interrupt doing a show because I love doing this. So I love interacting with our chat, and I like doing this because of you guys.
The only reason I'm on is because it's a holiday.
Yeah, he'd be at work if it wasn't a holiday. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank the maker. All right. We're going to get the hell out of here, guys. Deeply appreciate everybody being here. And all right, guys, here's your chance. Say bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
You hear?
Met